The insulation above my bedroom was pressed flat in the shape of a person lying down. Not walked on, laid on, long enough for the dust to settle around the edges of it. I'm Vess. 3 files tonight, and one thing before we start, because it changes how you'll listen. One of these 3 was not sent to me by the person it happened to. It was sent by the neighbor. I'm not telling you which. See if you get there before I do. I rented half a townhouse for 2 years. You share a wall, so you learn to live with it. You hear their TV, you hear their sink. After a while, it stops registering, the same way you stop hearing a highway. What I couldn't get used to was the ceiling. Every few nights, for about a year, there'd be a sound directly above my bed. Not a scurry, not scratching. A shift. The specific noise of weight moving from one place to another and settling. Pest control came twice. No droppings, no nests, no chew marks, nothing living up there. The second guy told me, old houses move. I paid $90 to be told my house was breathing. So one Saturday I went it myself. The hatch is in the hallway, and I'd never once opened it because why would you? I got my head and shoulders through with a flashlight, and the first thing I understood, before anything else, was that the attic didn't stop. There was no wall. Between my unit and theirs, at attic level, nothing. One space, the whole length of the building. I could see their hatch from mine. 60 feet of open joists and a century of dust, and no divider of any kind. And there was a path in the insulation. Nothing dramatic, just a lane where the fibers were pressed down and gray, while everything either side stayed pink. It started at their hatch. It came toward mine. It stopped over my bedroom. And at the end, it wasn't a path anymore. It was a hollow, body length, pressed deep on one side the way a mattress goes. A moving blanket folded at the head of it, flattened almost solid. Somebody had been lying down over my bed, often enough to wear a shape into it. I called the police from my car, not from inside. They went up with the landlord. The man next door was 43, had lived there 11 years, and had helped me carry a couch in my first month. The hollow was worn down to the drywall of my ceiling in 2 places. Not holes, just thin. The landlord had a divider built that week. Plywood, $400, one afternoon. 11 years, and nobody had ever thought to check. I moved at the end of the lease. I still look up before I fall asleep. Any building, any hour. We bought our first house at 29, and it needed everything. So it sat empty for 4 months while 11 different tradesmen came and went. The neighbor was Ray, and Ray was fantastic. Took our deliveries, let the tiler in twice when we were stuck at work, argued with the skip company for 20 minutes on our behalf. My wife bought him something at Christmas. Before we moved in, we changed every exterior lock. Not out of suspicion, that's just what you do. New cylinders front and back. Ray had one of the old keys, which now opened nothing. 14 months later, I was cutting the hedge on the side return and found a lockbox. One of those little gray key safes, zip-tied to the bracket of the gas meter. You couldn't see it unless you were pulling that hedge apart with both hands. Old owners, I assumed. Forgotten. Nothing. Except the tie holding it on was new. White. Clean. No brittleness. Everything else behind that hedge had 14 months of green on it. That tie had gone on recently. I cracked it open on the back step. 1 key. No tag, no ring. And I stood there thinking, that's an old lock. That's meaningless. Then I walked round and tried it in my own front door anyway, because I'm the kind of person who has to know. It turned. All the way. First time, no wiggle. Like a key that had been used before. Cut for the cylinder we put in after every tradesman had gone home, and after Ray's old key stopped working. 4 people had a key to that lock. Me, my wife, my mother. 1 in the kitchen drawer. The only window where a fifth could have been cut was the 2 days the locksmith worked, when we were both at work, and Ray held the spare and let him in and locked up after. I never asked him. People always want to know why not. I didn't ask because my wife sleeps at the back of the house, and I had no idea what asking would start. We changed the locks that evening, bolted both doors from the inside, put up a camera. 14 months. I don't know how many times that key was used, or whether it ever was. That's the part that doesn't close. He still waves every morning, same wave. And I wave back because what else is there? We're going to live next to each other for the next 30 years. 2 down, and I still haven't told you which one came from the wrong side of the wall. I'm Vess. Every file here starts as a message in my inbox. Address below, I read all of them, and I change every name in every one. One tap on subscribe and the next file finds you. Last story. Listen to this one properly. I'm 61, and I've lived on this street for 26 years. And I'd like to tell this from my side, because nobody has ever once asked for it. A young woman moved in next door about 3 years ago. Lives alone. I did what I've always done for new people here, which is keep an eye out. That first summer when she was away, I watered her pots, took her bins in, put her post inside the porch so it wasn't sitting visible from the road. Small things. Nobody thanks you, and I don't need thanks. She never gave me a key. I want to be clear on that. The porch door doesn't shut properly. Hasn't since the old owner's time. I told her so in her first week. So I'd step in as far as the mat and leave things where the rain wouldn't reach them. That's the whole of it. She thanked me that first year. She brought me a card. Then it changed. And I still don't know why. She stopped answering when I said good morning. Put a camera above her door, pointed down at the path, which is her right. Changed her locks in November. I know because the van was there 2 hours and she stood on the step and watched him work and looked over at my house twice while she did. I started keeping a note. Dates, times, what was said. Not for anything sinister. When someone starts behaving oddly toward you, you learn to have a record. Her car goes at 7:40 and comes back between 6 and past, later on Thursdays. You know that the way you know anything you've seen out of a window for 3 years. In March, she called the police on me. The officer was perfectly polite. He said she'd reported I'd been inside the house while she was at work, which I had not. I explained about the porch and the post and the pots. He wrote it down and left, and nothing came of it. I'm 61 years old. I have never in my life had police at my door. She's entitled to feel however she feels. I only think it's a shame because she's alone in that house, and that porch door still doesn't shut. And one day something is going to happen to her in there, and nobody will be watching. I sent this because I think about it most nights. I'd like somebody to hear the other side for once. That's file 3. It came in at 2 in the morning. From an email address in his own name. He mentions the porch door twice. He knows her card of the half hour. He keeps a book. And the last thing he wanted you to hear was that one day something is going to happen to her in that house. She was granted an order against him 11 days after he sent me this. Not the attic. Not the key. The one where nothing happens. If you live in a shared building, go up and look at your attic. Change your locks when somebody else has held them. And submissions are below. I read everything, I change every name, including the ones I'd rather not. Somebody took the dash cam off my desk. It's in there. I'm Vess. I know exactly where it went. And I'd rather not go and get it.